Hello everyone, Nicholson here, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Nicholson. I'm your host, and on this show we're going to be breaking down all of the day's movie news and kind of giving a little bit of background into what it means for the production in general, such as casting decisions, trailer announcements, director announcements, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's get into today's main topics. And the first topic today is actually over the weekend. They had a big event down in Anaheim, California called WonderCon. It's kind of almost like a little bit smaller version of Comic-Con, but a lot of the studios come, they show off a lot of the big upcoming summer movies, a lot of the finished special effects and sequences right from the film. So I want to take a couple of minutes here just to talk about some of the footage that was shown. So the big reveal over the weekend at WonderCon was Warner Brothers panel. They did, I think it was like a 2 to 3 hour panel. And they chose to focus on a lot of the films they have coming out, which they've actually been hiding a lot of the marketing for. The first one that they showed a lot of footage from was the new upcoming Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is a sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which came out about 3 years ago, back in 2011. And with the footage that came out, it revealed a couple of things about the film. First off, the movie is set 10 years after the events of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Also, bear in mind, anyone who wants to avoid any more information about these films or anything, that it has come out on movie websites and stuff like that already. But if you don't read those, or you haven't been keeping up to date, and you want to go in kind of blindly to these pictures, then by all means just skip ahead to the next portion of the video, because I'm going to be talking about some of the footage that was shown. So if you want to avoid any spoilers, just skip ahead to the next section of the video. So like I said, the film takes place about 10 years after the events of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And what has happened is the apes have basically created their own culture and their own society and stuff like that. And the remaining humans who lived from the outbreak of what they are calling in this movie now the simian flu, which was the human aspect of what happens with this cure for Alzheimer's. So in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the whole project was set up as a cure for Alzheimer's. And when they tested it on the apes actually grew their intelligence. And so they figured, this is going to work. The unfortunate thing is that it has a deadly side effect to humans. So anyone who comes in contact with it actually will end up dying from it. So there are two groups of characters in this movie. There's the ape colony, and then there's the human colony. So the apes don't require, this is from one of the TV spots that came out, the apes don't require electricity, they don't require heat like humans do, they don't require all these luxuries that humans have become accustomed to. So they are able to thrive in their new environment, because essentially they're in the same environment they would have been. It's just they're a lot smarter, so they can adapt a lot better. Humans, on the other hand, have had a lot of that stuff taken away from them. So now it's all about them trying to reestablish where they are in the world. And they showed about 20 minutes of footage from the movie, and it shows that the apes and the surviving humans are living apart from one another. So they are in the two sections, but through the course of the film, it looks as though they do try to coexist in a way. They did show them trying to coexist. Like you have, what was one of the descriptions? There was I think it was the child of Caesar, like the little baby ape of Caesar. They showed the little ape going up to Kerry Russell's character in the movie and acting kind of playful, and she was acting playful towards her. But in the scene, you could see that Caesar was kind of nervous about how humans would actually react to the apes, like looking at them almost like pets, and then if they misbehave, then they will be disciplined. And so that's his viewpoint on how humanity will look at his new culture and his new society. And they also showcase that even though there's been 10 years now, and Caesar was the only one in the first movie to be able to talk. He only said two words. He said no, and he said something at the end. I can't exactly remember. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but his vocabulary has now since increased, but every other ape in the movie has not. So there's still going to be limited dialogue and conversations between them in terms of them actually speaking, but they use sign language. They do subtitles and stuff like that. So they did say that I believe it's the first 10 or 15 minutes of the film is just focused on the apes. So we don't even see humans until about 10 to 15 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes into the film. But like I said, as Caesar starts to become distrustful, one of the apes actually goes to Caesar and says, listen, like we need to show them our strength. We need to show them what we are actually capable of. We're not just animals. And he goes, don't worry. Essentially, like paraphrasing here, but he goes essentially, we're going to show them. And then another segment showed the very large, I think, oh no, that was another one. A gorilla basically came up to a group of the humans who were on guard. Like, I guess they were watching the perimeter. And he starts playing and stuff. The guy asked for a drink of whiskey. Or a drink. I think they isolated whiskey, but I think he just asked for a drink. And then so he tries it, spits it out, and they're all laughing. They're having a good time, thinking, having a little bit of camaraderie. And then through horseplay, the ape actually gets one of the guns, and they think like, oh, is it a mistake? Like, he probably didn't mean to do that. And then all of a sudden, the ape unloads the entire clip onto one of the humans, and that's where the clip ends. So it does look as though we don't know exactly what's going to cause them to really distrust. There's probably going to be something. I have a feeling that it's actually going to be Gary Oldman's character who's going to start this rivalry, or at least is going to put the proverbial straw on the back of that camel and just cause all this mayhem, or at least be responsible for it. That's my interpretation. Again, we haven't seen a lot of footage from this movie, and a lot like Godzilla, I'm very intrigued by what we've seen, because it gives us a tone of the film, it gives us an idea of what to expect, without really showcasing the entire movie, a la Amazing Spider-Man 2, even though I'm really looking forward to that film. But what I've seen from this movie, and Matt Reeves, the director of this film, has already confirmed that he's coming back for a third movie. And some people are assuming that the third movie is actually going to tie in with the original 1968 version. Now, I don't see that happening. I see it leading towards it. I see maybe the end of the third film becoming the Planet of the Apes. But, I mean, after that, it's going to be very difficult. Without having a human protagonist involved in the film, I don't know if they could continue it on past that, having just apes. I don't know what kind of storyline they could really come up with, unless it's some sort of civil war, which I've also been hearing small, teeny tiny rumblings that actually may be happening in this film, where there may be some sort of ape civil war going on, and the humans get kind of caught in that. So it'd be all really interesting to see, but from what we've been told about the film, from the reactions of the studio, I think this is something to really take notice about. And the movie does open July 11th, so be on the lookout for that. And the second one that they showed, and this footage actually leaked online, I got to take a look at it myself, was a segment from Godzilla. Now, I believe on a previous episode I talked about the footage that they showed from South by Southwest, where you got to see one of the creatures attacking an airport, and Godzilla comes in. This was essentially the footage that they showed. And, oh, does it look cool. They showed, it starts off on the monorail. So in the trailer, you actually see when they're on a train, the train actually gets broken in half. That's actually part of the sequence. And in this sequence, you see Aaron Taylor Johnson's character on the monorail, and the power kind of goes in. He's sitting there kind of consoling a child. And all of a sudden, the power starts to come on around the area. And as the power comes on, all of a sudden, the lights show one of these other creatures. It's like a praying mantis-looking creature. And it's basically terrorizing the whole area. The train starts moving and starts moving closer to it, and that's what actually grabs the train, actually bites it in half. You see people start falling out. And then they show a helicopter coming in to attack this creature. And as it's coming in, it was actually one of the things that was really cool about this is as it was coming in, you got to see through the cockpit, you actually got to see some spikes moving in the way. So, and they were having to dodge those. And as they dodged it, they smashed into the side of that creature. Didn't look like it really phased it all that much. And then you see it spiral down, hit a plane, and it explodes. And that's the shot from the trailer where you see everyone in that big compartment in with the big glass window and the massive explosion. And as that explosion happens, you see Godzilla's foot stomp down. And when they actually showed Godzilla, it was a little blurry, so you couldn't see him in detail, but you could get the idea of what it was. You could see his body shape, and he looked angry. Like what I took away from it was almost as though he was the bully of the neighborhood. Take this with a grain of salt. This is just my analogy for it. He was the bully of that neighborhood, and another bully came in, and so instead of terrorizing everybody, he's actually protecting everybody and saying, you got to get out of here. Like, we're going to fight. I'm going to kill you. You got to get away from here. And that's what I took away from it. You just see him stand there, and the previous description I said was that he kind of resembled a boxer, and he does look like that. You see him, he's standing there, just kind of cocked back, and he's got his head back, and he's just like, you can see this kind of angry look on his face, like, you son of a, like, I am extremely excited about this project now, especially after seeing this. Like, this is the little tidbit that I've been hoping they would show at the end of the trailer. And this just got me so excited for it. I'm not going to put a link in it because it is leaked footage. A lot of the other places, it took me a bit to find it because a lot of the other locations have actually pulled it. So I'm not going to post it on my video, but if you search on YouTube or on even on just Google, just type in leaked Godzilla WonderCon footage, you can probably find it somewhere. That's how I found it. But anyway, it looks absolutely incredible. I cannot be more excited for that movie. I think based on the recent trailer, I think Days of Future Past edges out Godzilla in terms of my anticipation. But I still think that Godzilla is going to be one quality film. I think they've done everything right so far. It's got an amazing cast. The focus is on the humans and the 9/11-esque feel of the destruction of this world. Like it's not what they call disaster porn. This is actually going to be real world effects and how this actually affects everyone else in the movie. It's not just going to be there to see like, oh my God, it's so cool seeing all this stuff get destroyed. That's not the purpose of it. I mean, there's going to be a lot of that for sure, but it actually serves the story, which is what I'm really, really excited about. And so the last main topic that we have today is actually, the story came out a while ago that Quentin Tarantino was going to be doing a new Western titled The Hateful Eight. Everyone was getting really excited about it. The play on words of the name, it comes from the Magnificent Seven. But more information has come out about the project, and that's really, outside of the title reference, there's no relation to the Magnificent Seven, so it's not going to be a gunslinging kind of film. We really don't know too much of the storyline, although if you do really want to know about it, you can find the original script online. And it came out after that. Once he made the announcement, he actually sent the script out to, I believe, 6 people, like 6 agents, and the script leaked online. And I think they found out exactly where it came from. So Quentin Tarantino actually said he's not doing it anymore. He was really upset about this. And he actually went, he's still in the middle, I believe, in the middle of a lawsuit with the website that actually uploaded it. And so he did come out and say that he's not going to be doing it, and he was very upset about it, which was kind of a letdown. But over the weekend, the director actually did a live read of the second draft. He called it the second draft of the script. So he's worked on a second draft of this, and he's actually going to be working on a third draft. And he had actors such as Samuel L. Jackson, Kurt Russell, Tim Roth, Bruce Dern, Michael Madsen was there. And he had even more over the weekend to do this live read, and they all performed characters. Now, we know that, I believe it was Tim Roth, Bruce Dern, and Michael Madsen were all the 3 of the 6 actors who he actually was sending the script out to. So we believe, this hasn't been confirmed, but we believe that they were actually reading for the parts that they were originally going to be cast in. And he stated before they, I believe it was before they did the script reading, he goes, this is, my new script, blah, 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 blah. The ending of the project, chapter 5, as he calls it, or act 5 in some types of scripts, would be completely different. So this is going to be the only time that people are going to be able to hear how this original version ended, but he's going to be completely reworking it, and he wants to go ahead with this film. He wants to start shooting it. He hinted at winter. Now he said next winter, so that could theoretically mean that he could start in like January, February, or he's thinking next Christmas, like 2016 or no, 2015 Christmas to start shooting. I don't think he's going to wait that long. I think it's probably going to be beginning of the year, and then it's going to come out for Christmas of 2015. Be my interpretation of that. But yeah, if this actually happens, like, when he announced this project, I got very excited about it. I've loved both of the movies that he's done in the Western-esque type. He did Kill Bill Volume 2, is very much a spaghetti Western. And then, obviously, you have Django Unchained. Inglourious Basterds is a World War II movie. Some people say that it's very similar to a Western, even though it's set during World War II. But he's been very enthralled with this world. And, he loves these movies. He loves them. And when you have such a passion for something like that, it's very difficult. It can happen. Courtney Solomon knows this more than anybody. Courtney Solomon was the director of Dungeons and Dragons. And he was probably the world's largest Dungeons and Dragons fan. And he made an abomination of a film. So just because you have a lot of passion doesn't mean that you're going to make a great film. But when you have somebody talented like Tarantino and such a passion for a topic or a genre, I would put money on it that it's actually going to be very, very good, very high quality project. And I hope that this isn't just like kind of teasing everybody, saying that, oh yeah, you know what, I'm writing a third draft, and we're going to be going ahead with it, and then in 2 months he goes, you know what, no, I'm going to be doing this as my next picture. We're not going to be doing the Hateful Eight, because he did come out and say that he was going to release it as a book. And I think now he's kind of stepped back, and he's now going to be actually doing it as a film. So it'd be really interesting to see if he does it. But if not, I mean, it's Tarantino. Everyone's going to want to see what he's going to be doing next. It's always really curious to see what he's going to be doing. So keep on the lookout for this. Whether or not he's going to be doing it is up in the air, but I'm pretty sure that Hateful Eight will now be his next film. And so now let's get into rapid fire. So we've got two topics to talk about on rapid fire. The first one was TMZ actually caught up with Richard Donner about the status of Goonies 2 and whether or not there's been any more updates. And he actually said that, we got to talk to Steven, because Steven came up with this really great idea, and that's what we're moving forward with. So Steven Spielberg, the producer and writer and second unit director of the original Goonies, looks to be heavily involved, at least in the development stage of this new project. Now, the way that Spielberg works is, normally anytime you see his name pop up, unless it's a Transformers movie, and even then, he's not really involved in it. He just slaps his name up there, collects a paycheck just so that the movie can get some notoriety. Not to say that that's a bad thing. There's a lot of producers out there that do that. Like they will say, if I'm involved, then that can get you the types of people that you want. I believe in this project. I'm too busy with other things, but I will put my name on here as a producer. You can use that to state that, you need to get so-and-so involved. This could add a little bit of credence to the project to get that person involved. So that's kind of what I'm taking away from his involvement, outside of the fact that, we got this really cool idea. And now they're going to generate, hopefully, a script out of this, or at least attempt to. So it's intriguing that both of the original people involved in it are interested in working on it. If Steven Spielberg has come up with an idea, I mean, it could have just been, hey, why don't we do this? And, never really took it anywhere further than that. And then they say, okay, let's go ahead and try to move this. And then the information leaked out online that they were going to be working on Goonies 2. I mean, there's a couple of different ways you can take this, but for the most part, to me, it's exciting, because that means that the original people are involved, and we're at least going to get some kind of quality project out of it. So when we get more information about Goonies 2, I'll definitely update you guys on here. And the last topic we have to talk about actually takes us back to WonderCon. Simon Kinberg, the quote-unquote head of the superhero division at Fox, recently gave a massive update on Fantastic Four and kind of where it lies in terms of tone and stuff like that. And he said it is definitely more grounded in reality. It's going to be more realistic than kind of fantastic, which kind of goes against the name, which I thought was kind of ironic. But it's going to be more drama than comedy, as opposed to the family-friendly nature of the original Fantastic Four movies. But he also hinted that they may be exploring a different origin story. The origin story from, I believe it was the Ultimates, the Ultimate comic series that they did. And that kind of falls in line with the storyline that they're going with, because they're going with a younger set of the Fantastic Four crew. And in the newer versions of the comics, that's how they are. And so the new one, instead of it being them being up in space in a space station, getting attacked by cosmic rays, or getting infected by cosmic rays and getting their powers that way, it could potentially involve traveling to a parallel universe called the End Zone. Now, this may seem kind of way out there, and kind of, if they're going grounded in reality, how are they going to go to parallel universes? And the way that they could do that is by going hard sci-fi, which a lot of projects are very scared to do. A lot of them don't want to do that because they feel that not a lot of people will come in. Now, I'm going to throw a project your way that's very hard sci-fi that you probably are aware of, and that's called The Matrix. Now, there's always the exception to the rule, and The Matrix is one of the exceptions, where it was hard sci-fi. It was very, very knowledgeable in that environment, yet people loved it. Not a lot of people may have fully understood it, but they loved it. They loved the aesthetic of it. They loved the storyline, the inclusion of all the philosophical aspects of that script. But getting the hard sci-fi around something like that, like if it's just, oh yeah, they traveled to a parallel universe. Well, how? Well, I mean, obviously we don't know stuff like that yet. The movie's still very much in its infancy. They haven't even started shooting it. They don't start shooting, I think, for another couple of weeks. But if this is true, like the quote that he gave was this: when someone asked him, like, are they still going to be going up to space and getting attacked by cosmic rays? And he said, there's archetypal imagery of how they get their powers, for sure, and it does involve some sort of scientific travel. Because someone asked, is it going to be, Ultimates? Is it going to be the original way that most people are aware of? And when he says some sort of scientific travel, but yet doesn't allude to the fact that, oh, you know, they're going to be going up into space or anything like that. That leads me to believe it may be somewhere in between. Maybe they are going hard sci-fi, but not necessarily going into a parallel universe. We still don't know a lot about this project. It's very much in its infancy. So when we get more information, when Kimberg comes out, or at least when filming starts, we may start getting more information about the project. But until now, this is really all we have to go on, these little cryptic hints and details about the project. So I'm starting to get more and more excited about this project. I'm one of the only people out there that, even though they were terrible movies, I still did enjoy the Fantastic Four movies, as bad as they were. You know, the chemistry between Chris Evans' character, the Human Torch, and Michael Chiklis as the Thing, I thought was gold. You know, I thought that was just, it was so great. It was too bad that they were limited to their family-friendly humor, and the script was really meant for more of a PG rating. I think they got PG-13 just because some of the violence, but the overall feeling and tone of the project was more of a PG rating. So this movie, they are going a little bit more dramatic. They're going probably almost going to be pushing PG-13, which is what a lot of projects are starting to do now. So it's going to be really intriguing how they go about doing this and how they expand upon this to try to differentiate themselves from the original. So when we start getting more information about that, I will definitely update you guys on here for it. But until then, this is kind of all we know about the Fantastic Four up until this point. Well, that'll about do it for us here on Coming Soon Movie News with Nicholson. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have been a great help. And don't forget to click the subscribe button right down here at the bottom. You can also find me on Twitter at Nicholson, Niklsun. If you guys have a topic or a question you'd like to discuss on the show, or at least, you know, figure out whether or not it's still happening, if there's an update or anything like that, why don't you go ahead and write a comment in the comment section. You can also write me on Twitter at Nicholson, Niklsun, or you can email me at movienewswithnicholson@gmail.com. And every Friday episode, I will answer a couple of these or submit a questions, and then we'll develop something else from there. So without any further ado, thank you so much for watching. You guys have been great, and you have yourselves a great day. Enjoy.